dealing with the extremities, almost just that little bit of a default testing the aggressive waters that we know Fnatic were leaning into. Knife now going to come in. Does note a couple of players here, but again, Mystic super ready to go, just buying precious seconds here.
Actually running the clock down effectively. Boaster actually going to find a kill. Muzzy. Alfia should be able to pick up the second as well, and he does, just off screen in mid.
Brilliant. And now Fury are left with the 3 that were over towards main. I'm pretty sure Fnatic are aware of potentially 2, 3 of the players.
Boaster, actually.
Yeah. And Mystic with the readjust, so perfect. This is really beautiful work. Khalil's still standing. Is going to at least convert towards Mystic, so it's not completely over yet, but the Owl drone and everything else starting to pile up against them. Boaster playing brilliantly on the side, being super slippery, hard to pin down. And this should be 12 for Fnatic, really finding their footing here in the second half after a great first half as well. Got a little worried when Furious started to carve a bit of room for themselves, but absolutely quelled.
To finally get to map point. Well, Furia now.
Match point.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a couple of them. I think actually going to be missing a shield or two. You have to get the light shields through, but you're absolutely right. Boaster buying so much time there, just being slippery around Pyramid, not really giving anybody a comfortable engagement. They can't really collapse on him either. Really well played between him and Mystic, actually. Do Furia look to dial up the pressure here behind the null command? They might catch Durka early on here, preventing the TP. We'll disable that trap as well. Alfia should be caught in radius. Actually, yeah, it could be problematic because Durka's actually on the operator as well.
Yeah, there's the side take. Alpha
bails him
still
out.
gets Mazin down, and you're right. They get to live to fight another day. Underhand flash will at least get them in towards the site, but they still haven't really cleared these back positions. Durka still fine for this. Can live for a second, hold the line as best he can, and tap on the spike, but he's not committed! The swing, and Durka gonna claim their life, and Fnatic just shutting this one down. Fury are finding nothing. There's no fun anymore. Trying to play the finest of margins, but the numbers just so overwhelming now. Anything more to be found. Durka does get punished, but the spike's still deep in towards that B site.
Ento's still a million miles away from this as well, so...
Now put towards Furia.
A little misdirection as well. Puts the dart through, makes him double check. Tunnel, but actually will spot it and finds the 4th.
Was that a 2v4?
Yeah.
That could be, again, when we look at what can cause problems, that could be a tilter. You don't often carve your way through a 2v4. They make mistakes, they overpeak, they get punished a little here. But again, this I've got to say, credit where it's due. Some of these shots were just on the money. Beautifully played.
That's the adjustment there. Like I said, Mystic had a dirty little pocket to play in with that wall.
So we could not work out our difference.
Great recovery from Furia.
Yeah.
Don't want to have to watch that one back.
Not loving that at all. 7-12 though. Ult sign a hit, a little delayed. We noted it before. They did have those ults really coming through online, and the aggression, the commitment. They're still walking towards cave. The flash is there, just about gets away with his life. But Fnatic looking to tussle now.
Boaster actually will be able to avoid that. On the other side of things though, Mazin tagged up. Ento can't close out the kill though.
Bloody hell. 35
HP.
Again, this mid pressure. They've dealt with that early play towards A, pushing towards cave, but yeah. And the late investment from Boaster as well. They are going to kind of cut off B in the options. Oh, and this timing from Mystic could be heaven sent if he peeks over there at the right time.
You see the pings all the way up tube here. I think Fury are looking to address this.
There it is. Timing. It's great.
Knife out.
Brilliant timing from Mystic as well. Gets to dip away and just picking them off piece by piece. Now they're on the site. They do put their own Viper's Pit down, but Alfia, it's a little messy, but he's got the shot. And now numbers massively favorable towards Fnatic.
Boaster might even pick up Mazin here.
Timing. Oh, who is who first? Alpha is fallen. Mazin's going to hear this, needs to get there in time. Just losing track of Boaster here as Dirk has found one, so this is coming down a lot into Mazin's hands. And he can't do it! Khalil now the only one left alive! He's going to find a second! He needs 2 more, and he's got 12 HP! Boaster catches his opposing number, and Fnatic convert getting map 2 under the belt and taking us the distance.
Couldn't have come at a better time as well. Just when, like I said, I was so worried about one of those rounds just going. I think we look at a very different outcome here when Fnatic is still held at 10. But luckily, able to get this one across the line. Fantastic performance from Alfier as well. That first half, again, you could see the support system that Fnatic are willing to invest around. And like I said, Mystics, pretty much all of his utility was just to put him in a spot to find these freebies.
And what a player to do it for.
Yeah.
Couldn't imagine setting up a better player. Alfier, we're starting to see that real mechanical form that we loved watching him bring out. Finally seeing that really slip into place here. You got to feel in a weird way for Furia, because I can imagine in their minds, they saw that agent select come in, they're like, oh god, what have we come into here?
And I think as well, this is something that Fnatic actually massively taken the fight to him in terms of the first blood. I think it was 14 overall for Fnatic there, so it's not something that usually you see them as an entire team build around. Like I said, we don't usually see these very, very pacey hits from Fnatic. They're usually, reactive kind of executions that are very well coordinated, but this is a really, really good look for Fnatic.
I love seeing this, and this should send, echoes throughout the rest of the tournament, depending on who gets to stay alive in here, that this map is very much within the map pool of Fnatic. Another one of those strongholds, you could say, for them whenever it comes to a veto. However, we do now have to consider map 3. Now, it being Haven, Mike, I'm a little nervous, considering some of the previous results.
I mean, Fnatic got something else they want to pull out here. This one's completely flipped, right? I mean, I was talking about Furia ultimately had to take Breeze to force it because Icebox was almost a given. Now, Haven up in the air.
It certainly is, and that's not for us to decide. It's for the desk to really dive into, so we're going to hand it back over to them in a second.
And of course it goes to map 3. How else is this epic confrontation between two Titan teams supposed to end here as Fnatic pull out the ultimate trump card?
Sheesh.
I don't know. I just went really fast with it. I thought
God, you have the fastest reflexes for a 60-year-old I've ever seen.
It's true, and it's impressive. This is, by the way, all makeup. We have the best makeup team in the business. Okay, everyone, let's go ahead and break this down here. Start things off at the top, Jess, because we knew coming into this that there had to have been some shenanigans, some trickery, and the trickery was that young man playing Alfier playing Neon, and it worked out beautifully on their attack.
I mean, yeah, that first half, he commanded everyone's entire existence at that singular moment. He said, look at me, look what I can do, and I'm going to command half of the map space in a single click of a button. I love that. The second half, of course, a Dirker's playground. That's what you would expect of a Chamber player on that defensive half, but there was just a multiple players here, Ryan, that really stepped up.
Nice to see it from a Breach's perspective, the stun going across, and this flash, as we're about to see from Alpha's perspective, sets him up nicely. This is kind of why the Neon works, so just taking mid control so quickly, it scares any of the defenders away from Nest and Tunnel, but he peeks out, just as QCK was flashed. And just all of that utility to take mid to go from there, this was a deadly duo. The best part about this, it takes the pressure off of Durka, which I think was a big struggle for Fnatic on Icebox. He didn't, like, Durka didn't go insane, but he could do his role and not have too much onus on him to be insane and get multi-kill after multi-kill, because these two did exactly what they needed to.
I asked on the pre-desk, or the pre-map rather, whether or not, you know, Fnatic was still a world-class team, especially when we're looking at Breeze. I mean, when you look at this map, are they a world-class dominating team? We had no idea at this point what composition would they run. They got in and showed that they had been working on it, and that is a common denominator of a world-class team, is when they work on their map or when they work on their weaknesses. They've done that. And something to note as well, that before we jumped into today's series, out of all of the maps upon which, you know, you get to pick a map, then your opponent picks a map, there's bans and everything in between. But let's say of your first pick, every time a team picks a map in this tournament thus far, there's been 12 occurrences where the opposition have won someone's map pick. Say I'm Fury, you know, come in and I pick myself a little Breeze and I lose it. Well, I've added to that 12, now it's 13. And of course, conversely on Icebox, that's made it 14. So now that we go to the decider, really, you don't know where anything sits anymore, because the teams are pretty evenly met on both of each other's map picks.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you mentioned the decider, because Haven is a little bit of a tumultuous territory for both teams. If you're just joining us here, what a series you've missed. Go back, watch the VODs, do yourself a favor. Those score lines do not deceive you. The map, Breeze being there, does not deceive your eyes. But we go to Haven here, and both teams, Ryan, have had struggles on this map in this tournament in their previous matches.
Yeah, the part of the series that got these two teams into the lower bracket. They lost pretty hard on Haven. Fnatic lost it 13-7 in the third deciding map against 100 Thieves. And then for Furia, it was a 13-4 loss against DRX. And I think the mental boomage after Ascent was one of the reasons why Furia kind of fell apart there. Now it's kind of like, nah, we kind of fell into that one a little bit, but we're still in this. We've still picked up a map. We can do a little bit better.
Yeah, and even thinking about Breeze, you know, because there was a moment where I looked over and I saw that Pansy was mauling, and she was
like on the ground. Yeah,
she was
I
on
saw
the
that.
ground. She was actually rolling. It was incredible.
Yeah, she was. She did a backflip as well. You didn't see it, but we'll go
I know.
back on it.
It's wild stuff. Incredible that the headset didn't just completely explode. But you know, Furia were bringing it back.
Yes.
Their economy was healthy. It was just that the fact that the lead that was built up by Fnatic was so profound that it was so hard for them to come back. But if you look at that as like a 7-5 potentially, I mean, we could be looking at an entirely different result here, Jess. Like Furia, despite the difficulties they had in that first half, played incredibly well going to the second. Lots to be confident about for Haven.
I think there's something, you know, to be said, especially on the analyst desk. We sit here and we look at a loss, and I don't like to just say, yep, there's a tally in the loss, because you have to give it context. You have to understand how that came to be, and what was the round count. I prefer round differential myself, because that gives me a little bit of a better overarching view of what's really going on with the team. I don't think the Haven loss that we just referenced against DRX is indicative of their true Haven. I think in this series now we're getting the full breadth of Furia. We're getting what their full capability is, and are they closer to their ceiling? Yes, absolutely. So I don't think that DRX game is something that Fnatic can reference, I can reference, and the audience should reference about their capability moving on to map number 3.
I do think this swings back towards Furia, though, because I think Hypox said it really nicely. Like Icebox, Furia knew what they were going up against with Fnatic's comp. So they took it apart. They got to Breach. No idea what they were going to play. Lost pretty handedly because of it. And so now that they go to Haven, I don't think Fnatic would change anything up. You've got Alpha moving over to the Raze, which is his comfort. Mystic still on the Breach here overall. It'll just be curious to see if Fnatic decide to change anything, knowing that Furia have had anti-stratted them, just to throw them off a little bit. Because that's all they need. Just throw off Furia a little bit, and Fnatic will have the series.
Yes, yes. As we had just seen. But the decider, you never really know where you're going to go for that third map. You can kind of, you know, wager a guess, but it's always going to be challenging, right, on both sides. But yeah, I do agree with you there. I do side more, though, with what Jess had said, that this is not the true form. That was not the true form of Furia. Here we are now. I think a lot of us came into this, rightfully so, because of what happened in that DRX game, doubting what Furia is capable of. But at this point now, like Digizine, Mazine, like these guys have been putting together some exquisite rounds. And if anything, there's opportunity here to maybe pull a rabbit out of your hat, kind of like what we ended up seeing in Breeze if you are Furia. Perhaps?
Sure, perhaps. I also like to give a little bit of a, you know, a nod to the fact that we had Fnatic, you know, playing with a couple of the players players who are a little bit unwell. So I am, again, going to put the, the Jess famous asterisk against this and say that particular match where I'm looking down, we've quoted Enzo being one of the best Fade players in the world. Of course, he doesn't have a huge sample rate in international play, but that was a player that we have looked to on the Fade, on this particular map as well. Of course, on other maps, he's been able to rock it as well. He had a pretty abysmal performance on that map himself. I expect that to rise exponentially.
Yeah, well, we'll see now. I think Prime Gaming Agent Select should be coming up in a moment here as the teams have taken the stage. They get ready to go. I also have our casters gesturing at me over in the distance.
Aren't they magnificent? Look at the light. It's almost like gives them a little halo.
Unlike our previous event in Copenhagen where casters and analysts were completely far apart from one another, here in Champions they decided to just put us literally on top of each other. So I can smell Hypok's musk, which, let me tell you,
he has a banana.
Got some scent. He's got some scent and he's got a banana. But let's see. We do have keys to the game, of course, and I like this because I'm actually a keyboard aficionado myself. I like
What switches do you use?
I use Silent Reds.
Oh, yes, my man, fist bump. No one can see, but I'm fist bumping.
Actually, and this isn't, I swear to everyone watching at home, this isn't like a sponsorship thing because no one sponsors me and I don't care. The HyperX Silent Reds are legit one of the
I
best
also use a HyperX
switches that I've ever used. I had it on a Ducky 1-2 board that was sent to me by my friends at HyperX. Again, not sponsored, swear to God, disclosing that for everyone here. And that board was absolute fire. So anyway.
Oh, we love tattoos.
Players.
I am a tattoo aficionado.
Are you now?
I mean, look, I'm a little covered.
Oh, I am too.
I got a few. Where's yours?
I have my one tattoo right on my wrist.
What's your tattoos, Ryan, again? You've got the shoulder?
Have any. So the idea that I have, my mum has a tattoo of Pink Panther on her arm. I was going to get something similar for Roger Rabbit.
I like that.
There
Roger Rabbit. Okay. As a Roger Rabbit fan, I am quite happy about that. Chat's like, oh my God, what's Roger Rabbit? And it's like, read a book or I don't know, watch a movie.
Don't read the book. The book is very different.
Yeah. Don't read the book.
That isn't Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But anyway, I think another player for Fnatic I wanted to highlight is like Enzo. He had 18 assists on Breeze. Like we were talking about like Mystic and Alpha, that combination. But Enzo, you mentioned it as well when we were watching it, Jess. The fact that he catches the flank going into doors, it was a great shut-up. And like Enzo against 100 Thieves on this map struggled a lot.
Okay, here we go. Prime Gaming, Agent Select, Map 3. Jess, let's see if we get any whimsy, any shenanigans,
Are
any fun.
there any changes to this? I gotta know, because if they do, this is something that I really... hello, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Fury is like, okay, we like the fact that we want to get a Sky into this. We've got a Sage as well. And then conversely, Boast are giving me that beautiful little Omen play there. I like that. I like what I'm seeing here. And I think given some of the mistakes, we have to call them mistakes, they are quite heavy losses. Some of the mistakes we saw in the first showing of this from these teams, they're plugging the holes by bringing a different composition.
Yeah, just the Sage in there overall. They've taken out the Raze entirely, so they're trying to sort of play a lot more stall, play the information, putting DGZin back on the chamber. I think he was a bit like a loss. He was great on the first map, moved over to the KO. Didn't see all that much of him, but going over to Fnatic, the only real change is going to be Boaster moving away from the Astra, something a bit more proactive to set up. I mentioned Enzo, he had a pretty torrid time against 100 Thieves on Fade. This would be a great chance to shine up again, but I feel like everything's lining up for Fnatic now.
Okay, real quick, just say who's going to win. Ryan?
Fnatic.
Yes? Fnatic. The desk is unified. They believe in Fnatic. I don't know. I have a feeling that we have something magical in the air with Furia. We'll see, though. No pressure, guys. It's only map 3, an elimination match. Either win here or go home. No big deal. Let's go ahead and send it over to your casters. It's Pansy and Hypok for the call.
Yeah, no big deal. I think map 1 put the fear of God in Fnatic, and it made them bring out a brilliant look.
Made them dig deep.
It certainly did. But map 3, where do we look here? Where are we taking this? Because I'm a bit worried seeing this roll in, but talk to me about your expectation.
I mean, there is a bit of a gap here when we look at Furia, and obviously it's those defensive stats, right? Again, that is the weaker side of the game here. So with Fnatic actually starting on the attack, they have to put up a solid defense here. Maybe this is actually, in terms of composition, something resorting back to having a bit more utility to slow down, and then having certain tools available for the retakes. Well, that's something they lean heavily on. We have to keep an eye on, but it's got to be a good first half for me. That's the win condition here for Furia to pull this one across the line.
A tall task as well, considering Fnatic. I'm sure confidence will be sky high Mazin going to be put to the test first and foremostly. Invests the wall towards long, quickly broken. And he does have support coming in. 3 players going to make it towards the side, but Fnatic holding on the verge of breaking in towards this.
Actually, the siege goes up, but this smoke actually denying any sort of pressure behind it. Fnatic, I guess, getting the impression there's a couple more bodies here than they were anticipating, but Furia stack 3 towards sewers. We're not going to try and catch the rotation off. It's only going to be Durka left here.
When does Durka even consider looking back? They're really curious about this. They can isolate him.
I mean, they've got him back to eyes. Actually, when...
Still Durka. And there it is. Okay. No worries in the end, but now we look towards the rest of where Fnatic was heading towards, which was that C site. Now, Khalil's been holding on towards CT. You've still got one of the plays towards the backside of Garage. They've still held a lot of space, so the post-pile won't be super comfortable for Fnatic.
Interesting to see the reveal go up that early, but did you see actually finds one onto Alfier on the way back through. Fnatic desperately trying to reset. Zine will fall, but QCK comes through. The smoke guards up very early. They should be able to get the half use here.
Surely. Enzo going to just put a couple of shots into the dark and hope for the best, but he's actually going to sit this one, and ain't much going to be stopping this. Boaster just has to sit and wait. Diffuse right under his nose. 3 standing for Furia, and it works out well.
I'm not sure if the real curveball there is actually the kill that comes through in Garage, but resetting when Khalil's still standing towards long. The reveal wasn't back yet for Enzo, so there's no real way for them to ensure they can pressure that diffuse.
Yep.
Maybe the kill here is what completely alters the outcome here for Fnatic. But initially, we were talking about on Breeze not really having a tangible extremity to pressure here. These sorts of things for Fury, that re-clearance through sewers is key in terms of where Fnatic want to reset away from A lobby.
I do want to see how responds, or how Fnatic really responds to that longer term. If this becomes a bit of a habit. So Mazin, timing on the wall. Okay. Does he get to keep his life? Nope. No, absolutely not. Chased down and hunted. He's dead and gone. That's a big start. And Boaster, in the meantime, taking a lot of space. But there's 2 players really close to this. The pop flash is good. Has to try and back away. And he's cleaned up. Furia just going to put the stops on this round before he got out of control. That first pick could have been dangerous, but it's been dealt with.
Beautifully done. Khalil the one to clean things up. Great recovery on B side as well. Boaster doing his best to create just a secondary layer of pressure. Removing that trap, puts the smoke up, but great flash from QCK just to clear inside that smoke. Anticipates it perfectly. Whether or not we do see Furia a little proactive here and go hunting, try and make use of weapons here. They do have a Vandal and a Bulldog, so would imply maybe leaning towards
right there,
receiving any pressure from Fnatic in the early round. Only Durka outside A lobby this time around, and unorthodox actually from Azim to be the only one holding down the fort here, but the swing through completely punished here, but actually the pinch from mid is beautiful. Only good for 1 though. Fnatic respond with 3 kills very quickly. You can actually see, yeah, it's Mazin picked up on the back of that mid contact as he tries to push a little further on A long.
Wonder how much more Khalil can really do with this. Is there any sort of individual fights he could find?
Spike planted.
First one will be Boaster, playing towards Sewer. And not particularly clean, nor quick enough. So Boaster's going to get out of there. Mystic can now invest utility just to buy time and really run down the clock. You can already see the closing coming up from Alpha here as well. So Khalil looking unlikely to keep his life. And yeah, Alfie is going to make sure of that as Fnatic find their first here in map 3.
Comfortable as well. 4 standing, Rolling Thunder online now for the buy round. An opportunity for Fnatic to maybe piece together some sort of set piece here. I do have my eyes drawn back once again to how Fury are going to approach this round. Similar to what we kind of looked at on the previous, of just how they approach this. That's a heavy, heavy emphasis towards double doors. Once again, it's only Durka towards A lobby. Fnatic desperate not to relinquish any of this mid control early on, at least with a flash, and you know, Alfia coming out swinging, maybe dealing with the trap very early on here. We want to push and pull. Try and manipulate some of these rotations.
The angle. Vision. Needs to be careful.
Big kill. That's
Throwing caution to the wind, finding Durka. That's massive. That removes a big element of what Fnatic were banking on here. Because what else do they have? C-Long. Look at the progress already being made down C-Long. Khalil's walking this one. QCK with him as well. The map is looking so small from, if you're looking at it just purely from Fnatic's perspective, and waiting so ready on the other side. So prepared for this. Horn goes up as well, controlling the right side. Alpha gonna slip the net just slightly, but no one's on a connector.
Spike planted.
It still comes through. Mystic gets punished though. Enzo on the backside of this. It's a very weird round. It's a 2v3 here for Fnatic. QCK's actually got the flank here towards window. He's going to find Enzo.
He's got to be dead. Yeah, Enzo's down. All in the hands of Alpha, who managed to slip through by connector. The flash not going to reveal position. The paranoia goes and it clears through. And by process of elimination, surely they're worried about it. The tag comes in. The flash goes out and he eats enough of it. It's an easy cleanup for Mazin. And it's 3 standing and a defuse coming through for Furia. This is the game we wanted. A close potential third map here, Mike. This is Furia getting back on track.
At least early on here, I'm seeing some of the positives from Icebox. Right? On the back of that contact, Furia pick an extremity. They send 2 down C-Long. It's confirmation, right, of exactly how Fnatic is setting up. Didn't necessarily see it on Breeze, but they didn't have a chance to even string together anything like this on their defense. But this already is looking much better. Maybe it is the fact that Durka falls first, and there's no trap. That flank control going to be really pressured, but big positive to see early on here from Furia.
And now pumping the brakes for Fnatic, not the grapes. I'm hungry, what can I say? Woof. Pumping the brakes for Fnatic. Adjustment, where do we look? Where do we go for in this? Because they can still fashion a purchase here, be it with maybe like armor or whatever you want to look at it with. Ult comes in for Mystic as well. They have options, but where do they go? I
mean, it's interesting whether or not Furia are going to kind of set up a trap play towards Fnatic's early round here. Look to prevent them dealing with the trap. I mean, the wall goes up and you can usually gauge a general position or an understanding of positioning early on with how many people are going to deal with that wall on B. Little baits like that are something Furia could potentially rely on in some of these buy rounds if Fnatic continue to leave a lobby to Durka. And actually on the other side of that, just Marzine to kind of pick up the slack there. So there are opportunities. I don't know how much Fnatic have probably figured that out just yet. Because there's nobody kind of holding these traps, right? I mean, there's a Trailblazer coming through behind it, so they have a general idea, but whether or not these are tangibles that Fnatic are going to be able to really act upon is something we'll have to see. Outside of that, it feels like the opportunity lies towards A site. Looking as if that's going to be the focus here for Fnatic this time around, with 5 stacked outside. This time around, though, 2 members of Furia.
Yeah, we saw in the very early rounds Mazin was over here, but I want to see how this looks when they get all that pressure put towards it. Mystic investing utility towards it.
Where are you?
Horn going to go through. Doesn't get you too much, really, at this point. I like this, though. Quick progress elsewhere. You got the dog towards middle. You've already got that rotate coming in from Khalil. That's not a bad idea. Smoke towards CT, but here's that investment of the ultimate. Mystic going to try and set this in motion. Horn going to come down, and look at the damage done, but they can't get away from this Alpha here. This is still not over yet. Isolates another towards Sewer. This is huge damage, but a little maybe overzealous here, but buying time, and the rotations are in.
Actually going to be able to get ahead of the wall and rotate. Reload as well. Khalil going to find another kill. Second as well. It's just Boaster standing.
And look at these angles. They're so brutal. Just trying to bait this one out. Boaster trying to pull their attention, give himself a fair fight, but nothing's fair about it. It's 4-1. Furia holding on to this, and that was a big investment.
And the key thing, once again, they've identified a weaker extremity. The flash is immediate on C-Long, all the way actually deep past the spawn barrier, so they know there's nobody sat passively behind that, and immediately that rotation comes through from QCK. He sends the Trailblazer into mid, so he knows that actually it's 4, potentially 5 stacked up here, which is why I think they're happy to kind of commit some utility early on, and the ultimate on top of that.
The other round was so good as well.
Yeah.
Just ability to stay alive, find damage, and kind of re-aggress, take that space back of front sight. Oh, okay. This is where I need to see Fnatic find the response, otherwise I don't get the close game I wanted, but I have hope that they will do. 4-1. If you're just tuning in, where have you been? It's an elimination game. Life on the line. Map 3. Vision already starting to explore here. And this is the default. Maybe Fnatic trying to finally get that full read into what the hell's been going on, because the rotations have been perfect from Furia. And patience and discipline being shown here by Fnatic.
Desperately waiting, because I think they've actually read into the fact that Furia have been sending these probes out elsewhere.
Have to be.
He's got to be careful, though.
This is super
Hoping he
precarious.
doesn't overstay as well.
Going for it. He waited as long as he could. Safe enough to fall back to CT. Actually gets to get back towards site. There's a second flash, but there's no commitment. He can re-clear this. There was that flash confirmed in towards middle, so they should know there's still a player there, or was a player, and that's massive. This young man has now caught so much of what they wanted. There's no quick push off the back of it, though. Trap now dealt with in middle, reconfirming the Dirk is still around there. The flash towards Sewer gives away so much of what Fnatic wanted to do, and Furia unmoved. This is such perfect play! Furia smashing Fnatic with a flawless round.
Beautifully handled anti-eco from Furia there.
That was so good.
Again, just everything considered. There was no weak part of that setup whatsoever. And even the deep contact there, you're concerned that maybe a fault line is going to come through, the Prowler comes through, and there's a chance that some RNG happens, right? Somebody swings that angle wide, but the fact that actually the reset towards Heaven picks up Boaster in that lurk is crucial as well.
That's a massive
like
round.
I said, typically there, the adjustment would be somebody's playing, back towards a link or outside beat, and they're ready to reactively come back through.
But Fnatic this time have much more to work with. Coming with rifles, a little bit of light armor, but you've got the ult here for Alpha here, so they have to respect this. They have to give up sight. He's going to post it and clear. Now, Horn comes back in. They know they're on site. That's about as much as you're going to get. You've got the Seas potentially coming in. Already QCK going to try and clear towards the site as well, but it gives a little bit of room here. They should try and maybe peek ahead of this one. They're quick to this, Mike. The paranoia is sent there. They're not wasting any time. They've isolated one towards Hell. That's supposed to now removed. A look towards Long, but it's a quick shutdown. Fnatic! Oh my, wait. Dirk and Alpha just fell. It's a 1v2. It's not over yet, but marked and noted. Big late round information. Great work from Enzo.
Pace change actually banking on the fact that the A site is the weaker side of this setup. So we'll let Fnatic now lean on that. There's some ultimates coming online. Enzo, Boaster, and Durka all got theirs, but on the other side, the Nightfall back for Furia. Tour de Force available and the Seekers.
Lovely from Enzo here.
An insane exchange, actually. It's really unfortunate Khalil actually gets tagged here and revealed off that.
It's big. I bet give him a bit of room there, Mike. They needed that. 5-2. It's not like it's, Fnatic back in the lead by any margin. Rinse and repeat somewhat here, but willing to fight it out. Furia not backing down this time. Actually taking the aggression to Fnatic. Zero fear again.